Welcome to Learn As I Go Photoshop Basics class. Today I'm going to be showing you some essential Photoshop keyboard shortcuts that I really wish I had known when I first started using Photoshop. Today I'm going to be focusing on the toolbar, which is located on the left hand side of the screen. This is the default. When you open it up, it's normally docked over here on the left. You can move it around and you can organize your workspace any way you want. So you can move anywhere you want it, but it normally opens up. When you open up Photoshop, it normally is on the left hand side. And I'm going to go over the keyboard shortcuts for each of these tools that are listed here on the left. There's a lot of them, and it's really nice to have the shortcuts. The first tool is the Move tool. And as you can see, when you hover over it, it gives you the keyboard shortcut. So the first one is V for move. The second one down is the marquee tool, as you can see here. Now, you see these little arrows here. These, if you right click on them, they show you that there are other selections underneath this that you can choose, and I'll explain how you can toggle through those in a few minutes. But these are the other ones that are there. But when you press the M, the first one you're going to get is the rectangular marquee tool. The next one down is the quick selection tool, and that is W. And as you can see, the icon is now darker, so you can see that that's the one that's selected. The next one that I use continuously is the brush tool, and that is B, and it's located down here. And once again, if you open it up, you see there's the brush, the pencil, color replacement, and mixer brush tool. And then the next one after that is the gradient tool, and that's G. And I often use the gradient tool and the fill bucket, which is the paint bucket tool is underneath here. I've never used the 3D material drop tool, but that could come one day. The next one down is the type tool, which is T. That one makes it easy. T for type, and again there's a couple choices under there that you can choose as well. Then the next one that I use on a regular basis is the zoom tool, and that allows you to zoom in and out of your work, whatever you're doing, and that is Z. And that makes perfect sense. Now down here, this is your foreground and your background color. And if you want it to go to the default, you press D, which is the black as the foreground and white as the background. Now, when you press these keyboard shortcuts, it's going to bring up the most commonly used tool in that section. So for example, when I go up and I type V, or let's use the marquee because it actually has choices. When I type the M for marquee, remember there are choices out to the right. There's the rectangular, the elliptical, and there is a way to toggle between the two with the keyboard so you don't have to click on it. And what you do is you press the Shift key and then you press the letter, and as you can see, it's now switched to the elliptical, and if you hold down the Shift key and press the M again, it takes it back to the rectangular. And you can do that with all of these. Now, not all of the items are selected. Like you see, these last two are not selected because they aren't used on a regular basis, but you can switch through the most commonly used tool shapes or options when you use the Shift key. The one other thing that I want to discuss today is that down here in the default, remember the D was for default, but you can switch the foreground and background colors, and the way you do this is by pressing X on the keyboard. And this will switch your foreground and background, whatever foreground or background colors you're using. And to get back to the black and white, you can always click here, and this will take you back to the default, or press D, whichever, you can switch whichever you want to do. Now, the reason you would do the X, at least the reason I find that I switch back and forth, is when I'm over here in the layers panel and I've got a couple layers and I want to apply a layer mask. I can then, when I apply the layer mask, you use the black and the white to either color in or color out what you've applied on the layer. And so you'll find you switch back and forth between the black and the white to either paint in or paint out an effect. And I'll go over that at a later date, but for right now, just know that you can use the X to go back and forth. Well, that's all for today's Photoshop Basic class. I hope that some of these shortcuts will be useful for you and that you'll be able to use them as you start getting used to Photoshop. And I'll see you all next time.